add a note. So you've now, Deb just called them, you're gonna put in a title, you don't have to put the date because it's gonna auto date it for you, but you're gonna be like initial contact, buyer lead, whatever it is, and then you're gonna make your note and you're gonna save. And I wanna show you what happens when you do that.
I think mine wouldn't do it because it wasn't everything so much.
Okay, hit save. So now it gives you the date and the title and the note,
Okay,
okay?
okay.
So as you're looking at this,
Mm-hmm.
it's telling you the health of this contact is 68% because as you go down and you look at what, if you just scroll down here, there you go, there's the bar. Scroll down. You can assign them to a neighborhood. In fact, it assigns them, if you go back up, it assigned them to Sunkist Park near them. Yeah. This guide, if you click on the guide, that's going to walk you through functionality within contacts. How to complete a marketing profile, active smart plans. So you don't have to do that, but that will walk you through step by step different things.
Okay.
But now at least you can do two
Now
things.
at least we know. Thank you
You
so
can
much.
add a contact and you can put notes on your contacts.
Yep.
So now you have their information in your database. You can dialogue with them in whatever medium you choose to dialogue. And you can now cross off, I made my one call, so that's 1 of 10 for today. I put them in my database, that's 1 of 10. You can now send him a note, thanks for taking my call. Stay safe in the fires. I've enclosed 3 business cards, 1 for you and 2 to hand out to others. Please consider me for all your real estate needs in California and Hawaii. Because you can serve them in California, you're not licensed there, but you can refer them to someone. Okay, and that's still gonna generate income for you.
In order to see, like if you had your whole database in here, is there like, do you get to see like a spreadsheet looking thing where you can see where
You can print your database, or you can sort and scan your database.
You can
Uh-huh.
see like a rolling thing, okay.
Yeah. So when I took her to the main page where she clicked on John's name, she had 2 items. If you had all your contacts in there, you just have a list.
Okay, and are the notes visible at that moment too, or they have to
I don't
click
think
on
so.
them?
I think you have to click on it to see the functionality
Okay,
with
so
it.
you'd want to put something on your calendar to prompt you about the note. If
You don't have to put anything in your calendar because there's a task function as
Okay.
part of command.
Mm-hmm.
So as you start to learn command, there's online videos and they will have a 2-hour tech meeting. Do you know when that's gonna be in November?
The next tech meeting is actually gonna be it's gonna be Wednesday, so it's gonna be November the 6th.
That's just the committee.
So
Once-
that's actually, they redid it, because that's actually gonna be a class.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah,
On November 6th, the same day as the paragraph.
yeah, same day as paragraph.
Is it in the afternoon?
It's in the afternoon, that's correct.
Same time. No, I think paragraph's
2 to
in the
4.
morning. Let me look. Paragraph,
6
paragraph's
is at
1 to
1.
4:30. Shoot.
There are also videos. There are
Okay.
also lots of those guides and self-tutorials. So if you go in, this isn't a command class, but I can at least direct you.
Okay.
All right, click on the contact. Okay. There's your task function.
Okay.
And then it says add a task.
Okay.
You can add a task and then that is gonna track it for you,
Okay,
Terry.
yes.
And then when you open on your main dashboard, it'll tell you, you have someone to call, you have someone to visit, you have an appointment.
Is this it?
Yeah,
Okay, there's a task.
yeah, and it talks about creating a task,
Okay.
all right? So when you go back to your home, which is your main dashboard for command, if you have tasks, it'll show up there on the left. In that upper, it's right at the top of the screen when you open.
Perfect.
And then as you start to have things within your system, it'll start to show you You have this many leads, you have this many appointments, you've done this many listings, you have this many in escrow. It'll start to calculate based on your listings, what your potential income is. Once you start to load stuff in, you get a lot of functionality, but you need to attend the tech classes or go online to the videos. If you don't know where to start, call Robert Eikenberry.
I have his number.
His card is right here in the middle. Take his card if you don't have it. You can set up one-on-one time with him, and it's like $50 an hour. Because he doesn't get paid for doing our tech stuff, I don't think. But he does do one-on-one where he'll set stuff up or tutor you. Okay? Or you can just come to one of the meetings. All right, so let's refocus back into what we're here for today. Night 11, close the deal. We are on page 11. Aaron spoke on the break about this Ignite My Tracker, the daily104.com. Does everyone have this website address?
Yeah.
And so that allows you to track how consistent are you being. It only shows you a 5-day history. This goes nowhere. This is only viewable to you. I can't go in and view what you're doing on your daily 10-4. This is just a tool for you. So the blue is you add it to your database. Red is your number of calls or connections. Yellow is your notes, and green is homes you've previewed. So it lets you set goals or milestones, but if you're just doing the daily, you click here to enter what you've done for the day. As you go through these different thresholds, the number color will change. So because you only previewed 3 homes on this day, it's red. On this day, you did all your notes, all 10, so that was the required milestone, the number's green. These 2 fell short of the goal of 10, so those are yellow. If you're below about 70%, I'd say 60% or less, it's gonna be red. So this is a good tool for yourself for the week, just to see, how am I doing? And you can pull reports that'll give you greater history. So a very easy functional tool to use. I highly recommend it. I think it's awesome. We already talked about the recommendations on that. Okay, let's see. So page 11, get your head in the game. We are now in the game because we are
Closing.
lead generating and we are using our daily 10-4, and now we've all logged into command, can add contacts. Closing is not an event, it is a complex process. So don't think of it, I tell people, you get into escrow, that's where the journey begins. That's where the hard work begins, is not getting the listing or the buyer and identifying the property and negotiating the contract. It's keeping it in contract. It's getting it through all the hoops to get to closing. This is where you're going to truly shine as a customer service professional, because people, especially if it's their first transaction, are going to have a lot of questions. You can do a lot to set the expectation at the time you enter escrow with, I'm going to provide you a timeline within 24 hours of everything we're going to go through. And I give them a copy of my timeline. And then I tell them, I'm going to touch base with you and update this to you weekly. You don't have to do it, but someone has to do it. I have a transaction coordinator who does it for me, and every Friday it comes to me, I review it, and then I tell her yes, and it goes out to the client.
Is there a timeline template in here?
There is.
Okay.
There's a template within documents
Okay.
on the internet.
Okay.
So that's for every escrow, whether you're representing the seller or the buyer, it's the same template. The same things have to be done because they're dictated by your purchase contract, and or if you have a counter offer, then those 2 documents together. Essentially, your role shifts at that point from being a sales professional trying to either market and sell a property or identify a property for a buyer to a project manager, because that's your goal. As you open escrow, you have several things you're going to deal with. You've got loan applications, you might have a survey, you might have an appraisal that comes after the loan application. You're going to have documents that are shared, inspections. So all of those things are things that have to be scheduled, produced, exchanged, documented, receipted, delivered to all the parties in escrow. So that's where all the moving parts are. And you want to make sure that you don't miss anything, because that's our job, to make sure that we are knowledgeable, calm, and acting in our best capacity as a fiduciary for our clients. A successful contract to close process is a transaction closes on time as expected. That's successful. The process is smooth and painless for all parties. That's successful. You win future business due to your 10 plus customer service experience. If you are unsure, do you want to tell your client you're unsure? No. You want your communications with your client to be clear and concise. So you're going to get clear before you communicate to your clients on anything you do, whether that's with your broker, with your coach. From your very first transaction to your 500th transaction, your client should not know you're a new agent. And I tell people, don't go announce it to the world, hey, I'm a new agent. They don't know if you're new, and they don't know what you know or you don't know. They're buying in Hawaii, many of them, this is their first deal in this market. We do things very differently than the mainland. On the mainland, they use attorneys for closings, and they all parties sit at the same table and exchange money and keys. Here, we don't do that. The parties don't ever come together, right? We use an escrow company. They go in and sign, the buyers sign, then they leave, and the sellers come in and they sign, so there's no interaction. You want to present yourself that you're in control, you're calm, and when things come up, and they will, that you might state to your client, I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm going to confirm it with my broker, and I'm going to get back to you this evening. There are lots of things that I come into that I'm like, I'm not sure, and I'll call Marion up. Hey, I got this, what do you think? 2 or 3 sets of eyes are always good on a problem. The other advice I'll give you on closing deals is, if you make a mistake, and you will at some point, go to your broker right away. We can fix and solve almost anything if you come to us early. It's when you don't come to us and then you make decisions and that mistake is compounded, you get to a point where it's much more difficult and sometimes not possible to fix. And then you have lawyers involved, complaints against your real estate license, stuff happens. The communication with us is important. As your principal broker in risk management, please call me. If you make a mistake and you're like, I really blew it, I'm in trouble, I don't care if you call me at midnight, but call me, because I want to sleep, I want you to sleep. I'm responsible for everything you do and say in real estate. Even though I'm not your broker in charge reviewing your deals, I'm responsible to make sure the bigs know what the expectations and the laws are, and that they advise you and hold you to those standards. If you make a mistake and you lose your license, I might lose my license, because I'm responsible for everything you do and say from this point forward. Even if I've never met you, we don't sit down and talk. So I tell people, in real estate, there are those who've had complaints and those that will have complaints. You will most likely not go through a real estate career at any length without litigation or a complaint of some kind. Our goal is to support you in such a way with tools and systems so you minimize those opportunities for mistakes. And hopefully you don't have that, or very few. So call and call often. Because we may not have the answer, but I can call our attorney, I can call the state association's attorneys. I have resources I can reach out to for when I don't have the answer. Some people get embarrassed and like, I don't want to admit I made a mistake, or I don't want to admit I don't know the answer. I would much rather you say you don't know than say something incorrect. An example would be, does this property have a water meter? Oh yes, it does. It's a county water meter. Do you know it has a county water meter, or are you assuming it has a county water meter? That would affect value. That would be something a buyer would rely on as a pertinent fact. Do you think if they bought the property and closed and found out there wasn't a water meter, that might be a problem? That would be a big problem. Some properties in Maui County cannot get a water meter at all. Are you all aware of that? Particularly upcountry where there's a moratorium on meters. So, for remote property or even upcountry, not remote property, people from off island just assume, oh, I'll just go to the county and get a water meter. They don't know. It's our job to educate them that if this parcel doesn't have a meter, it may not ever get a meter. Not just that it's number 300 on the list or whatever. So, important things to consider in your process. You want to be organized, you want to have systems, you want to use checklists, you want to have tools. Using the task function in Command is a great tool to use once you understand how to use it. Once you incorporate it and you start using it, it will start to tell you, here's your call list, here's your mail list, here's your email list, and it'll start to prompt you on what you need to do. You want to come from a mindset of contribution. How many people can I help, not how many people can I sell? That comes across authenticity, and when you're genuine, people feel that. They know. They can tell when your bank balance is low, when you're desperate and you've got to write the contract, you've got to have the sale. You don't want to be in that position. You want to be in the position of, I want to help 10 families this year, or this quarter, and try to do that. You can never over communicate to your clients. If you are communicating and it's too much, your client will tell you, you know what, Deb? You're great calling me every 2 days on our new listing. That's good for the first 2 weeks, but after the 2 weeks, just call me every Friday. Or better yet, don't call me, just send me a short email with an update on the marketing activities. And I ask all of my clients, how do you want to be communicated with and how often? A retiree who's sitting at home every day might want to talk to you every single day. And you might be able to meet that desire. Or you might have to say, you know what, I can't call you every day, but I'm happy to call you every third day. CEOs that are on the mainland selling multi-million-dollar properties may not want to talk to you at all. I have one client here who's a business owner. He's like, I don't want to talk to you unless you have a contract. I'm selling a commercial building for him. We've been on the market for 6 months. I've talked to him like 3 times. And he's like, I love that you're checking in, and I know you feel the need to check in every 30 days, but remember when you listed the property, I said, don't call me unless you have a contract. He's like, I don't care. If I don't hear from you, I know we don't have a contract yet. So, respond to meet their needs. Okay. Does everyone know about the payday funnel, page 12? It's literally a funnel. You start at the top of the funnel with the leads. Your leads become appointments. Your appointments become agreements. Agreements become contracts. What would an agreement be?
Listing agreement.
Listing agreement. Buyer's representation agreement. That's going to let you move forward in some capacity of representation to get to a contract where you're now in escrow. Once you're in escrow, you're closer to closing and payday. This quote on the bottom from the Shift book is pertinent because we're in a shifting market. The first part of the real estate sales process is the hard, focused work of making connections and achieving agreements. The second part is the wide-eyed, vigilant guardianship of the transaction until it makes it to closing. I completely agree with that statement. The hard part is getting over our fear of making the phone calls. Figuring out how to work in Command, right? That all comes from fear of it's new, it's not comfortable, I gotta learn something new. I'm going through that right now. I've kind of been in my own little world because I've been leading the commercial division. Commercial's not in Command right now, and only in the last 7 to 10 days have I been like, oh, I'm gonna be the PB, I need to get up to speed, I need to be working within the system so that I can teach clients, teach agents, advise people how to work within it. figure out where all the connections are. So I'm in an uncomfortable place, but I sat down with Robert for 2 hours last weekend, and I'm like, I need 2 hours one-on-one. I need to be fully functional by Monday. So you give me the 8 or 10 nuts and bolts so I can function. I will go back and watch the videos to learn all the bells and whistles about it, which I do in E-Edge. I'm really good in E-Edge. But I'm going into a not comfortable space. So you just have to decide that for your business, you have to do it. And it's just, it's not always easy. Make it happen. You want to know the process. Systems equals success. Seize the golden opportunity. And then you want to get paid. All right, knowing the process. This is the contract to close process. This is on page 14. So it's a flow chart. Is anyone used to working with like organizational charts or flow charts? Okay, so all contracts start at the offer stage, regardless of who you represent. One of three things is going to happen. You're either going to reject the offer, accept the offer, or issue a counter. One of those three things will happen. Let's say you reject the offer and you issue a counter offer. To continue on the flow of a contract, they would have to accept the contract. If not, they may issue you a counter offer. You could go back and forth on several counter offers. But you get to acceptance, and now your first step is inspections. J1 in your purchase contract is usually one of the shorter timelines. So right away, as soon as you get an accepted offer, you want to schedule your inspections. Inspectors might be 2-3 weeks out before you can get an inspection. So you want to get it scheduled right away. When the inspection is done, they'll give you a report, and the buyer will either accept the report, they'll reply to the report, or they'll reject the report. If that is a point of cancellation, that's your first point of cancellation, J1. Okay. Right? Because if the report comes through and there's more work, the house isn't in the condition the buyer thought it was when they made their offer. They're either going to accept that, or they're going to ask for some compensation, either in the way of a credit from the seller or a price reduction. So right there, it's reopened negotiations. Okay? You want to get through inspections.
And how long it usually is J1?
It varies, 10 to 21 days, depending on how long your escrow period is. If you have a 30-day escrow, I try to clear it in 10 days because you're moving really quick through the deal. And if it's cash, you might be closing in 21 days, so maybe inspections are 7 days. It's relative to what.
And yet the appointment could be 3 weeks out.
It could be. So you gotta find an inspector who's available. You gotta say, I got a cash deal that's closing in 21 days. Today's day 1. We only have 7 days to get the inspection and have them review it and approve it. Can you be out here in the first 3 days? Yes, no. You may have to pay extra for them to move someone else and put you in that slot. That's why you want to have relationships with all these people you're working with. Once you clear inspections, you're going to have clear title, which is your preliminary title report. That's going to show, are there liens on the property?
Does the mortgage company order that?
The escrow company
Oh, that's.
is going to order your title reports. They're also going to be offering you the title insurance, so they're going to give you quotes on whether they can insure the property. Not all properties are insurable for title insurance. If there is a break in the chain of title, if there are liens, there's a lot of issues that can impact that. So you want to clear title and deal with whatever that is.
And does it fall out at that point if it can't be cleared?
Sure,
If it can't be insured? Sorry. guys.
sure.
And it can't fall
Okay.
out, it doesn't have to.
Doesn't have to, but it
But
can.
is that just a preliminary title report that you get at that stage? Or is
Yes.
it okay.
Preliminary.
Do you ever give people their earnest money back if it falls out?
Yes, often.
Have you ever kept it?
Yes, rarely. Yeah, most of the time money goes back.
If it can't be insured and if it can't be cleared, you just accept it and it can move through?
You can accept it, but you might have on your title report, you might have an encroachment agreement that the buyer wasn't aware of, or an easement. There are lots of things that can come up, but you're gonna evaluate that report, and they're either gonna accept it, or they're not gonna accept it,
Or cure it?
or cure it. all of which are options. Your next step is going to be your loan, which is loan underwriting, loan funding. Can you have a loan that's approved in underwriting and not approved to fund?
Probably.
Yes.
Around appraisal.
So when someone buys, they usually give you a pre-approval or usually pre-qualification statement. If they're a little farther in the process and they've pulled credit, you might have a pre-approval statement. You might even have what's called a DU, which is desktop underwriting, where they put all the details in the computer and the software has said, based on this information, you're approved. And the pre-approval letter will say, subject to verification. So you told us you make $100,000. When we go to your employer and verify that, then this is valid. You said you had a 680 credit score when we verify that. So they'll verify everything, but issues come up that could prevent funding. So if during the inspection identifies non-permitted items, what we call a no ohana. They've converted the garage into an ohana. There's a bathroom and a kitchenette in there. It's not legal. The lender's not going to fund on that. So your workaround is go to the county for after-the-fact permits, which you may or may not be successful in getting and could take months, which is going to delay your closing months. The seller may say, I'm not going to wait. Cancel escrow, we'll do something else. Your seller may have to undo that conversion. Put a garage door back in, take out the kitchenette, take out the bathroom, so now it's a garage again.
Can't you just discount the dollar value of the loan?
No, because the lender is not going to fund the loan because it's an unpermitted
Got it.
change. Some things that you come up to you can fix with credits or price reduction. But some of these other items we're talking about, no. Because the lender would stall, they would not fund. And so they're going to be like, it's not permitted. If they don't have something that fits in their box, they can't sell that loan. So unless they're taking the loan and they're like CPB Bank, that's local, that says we're gonna make the loan and we're gonna keep the loan in-house and it's 25% down and it's not a government insured mortgage, they might do it. Or like a finance factors, they might do it. If you're going through something that's government insured, you're an FHA or VA, they're not gonna do it because there's very strict standards and metrics and it has to fit in the box. Because if it doesn't, they can't bundle it and sell it. So that drives a lot of it. Any other escrow instructions, the closing disclosure. You know, the new federal.
Can I back up 1 second before we go on?
Sure.
It says here, it says the loan is already underwritten and the loan is funded and then it's rejected? It goes straight across? Loan underwritten, loan funded, rejection.
Well, your loan will be either funded or rejected.
Oh, either, okay.
Yeah, this is an either, it's not a both.
Okay.
Yeah, they can change the format.
Yeah. When this loan, I didn't make this flow chart, but yeah, I'll make it up to tell them.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to.
Your loan is underwritten. When you start the loan process with your local lender, you're gonna have pre-qualification that goes to pre-approval, that goes to desktop underwriting, that sometimes goes to a physical underwriter who's gonna verify the desktop and review the final file review. They're gonna verify that your funds are seasoned, where the funds are coming from for your down payment and your closing costs. That the house appraised for at least purchase price, it's fully permitted. They're gonna clear your inspection, that it was inspected and the house is in acceptable condition. Once they do all those things, 3 days prior to closing, they're gonna fund the loan. But sometimes we get to the end, 3 days prior to closing, you're almost there to close your deal, and something pops up. Okay, so things that could prevent them from funding the loan. The buyer loses their job. Now they're unemployed. The seller dies. That would stop your transaction. Those are things that are going to immediately stop your
If
transaction.
the buyer lost his job, does he get his earnest money back at that point?
Yep, if his loan is written with a financing
Okay.
contingency. So the loan is written that there is a contingency or there's not, you know, in your purchase contract.
Okay.
I tell my client, my agents, write everything with a financing contingency, unless it's a cash deal, it's 100% cash. If there's any component that's being borrowed from a family member, their business, a lender, write in the financing contingency. Particularly if you represent the buyer, because it protects them. If for any reason they can't get their loan, they get their money back, even the day of closing. So that's their protection. Your closing disclosure, commonly called the CD by escrow, is that final statement of the terms of their loan. When they apply for their loan, they get an initial disclosure, and if they vary outside a percentage, that disclosure has to be reissued. You cannot close within 3 days. That has to season for 3 days. It's a federal law before they can actually close the escrow. So if 2 days before closing, they're funding the loan and the interest rates popped, something happened in the world and rates went up overnight and their loan wasn't locked. Now maybe they were quoted at time of loan application 3% and now it's at 4%. That's outside the variance that they're allowed to go in. They have to issue a brand new closing disclosure on the new terms of the loan, wait 3 more days and close.
So you said a 3% discrepancy?
I'd have to look and see what the current discrepancy is. I think it's a little more than 3%. I think it's 10%, but a couple of the line items have dollar amounts and then a couple of the items have percentages. We'd have to pull out a CD and look at it. Would that affect your client if they were planning to move into their new home on Friday morning, November 1st, and today you had to tell them that interest rates went up yesterday and their loan wasn't locked and now they have to issue this new disclosure and they won't close till next Tuesday or Wednesday, so they're not gonna get the keys till next Tuesday or Wednesday, and they have all their stuff in a moving van and they have nowhere to live? Yes, it happens. So now you're scrambling to try to assist them with short-term housing and where they gonna put their stuff. I usually tell them, go rent a unit and have everything delivered into storage. And when you get the keys, I'll cover the cost of a moving van to go pick everything up and bring it to your home. Because I'll take it out of my commission. Even if it wasn't my fault, but something happened along the way, I'll try to ease that hit to them.
Is it their choice to have a loan locked or not?
Yes,
So why would one choose not to, just in case it went down?
they might.
I mean.
Usually you
aren't
can
trying to
let
get
the
a-
rate, you get a rate when you apply, and usually you can do what they call a float down, float it down once while you're in escrow. And usually your lender will be watching it and go, hey Susie, rates dropped today to 3%, I think you should lock